What's up, everybody? I'm Eric Hansen here on Backpacking TV. Today we're going to be looking at how to lighten your load when backpacking without regretting it. Before we get into the video, please like and subscribe to our channel here. It definitely helps us broadcast to a wider net, if you will, in this great YouTube world. I would also like to give a shout out and a thank you to Mystery Ranch. They are helping make this video series happen, and they make amazing backpacks, and I totally recommend them. They are bomber, they are comfortable, they are durable, they are wonderful backpacks, so check them out at mysteryranch.com, and let's get into it. So space and weight are obviously at a premium when it comes to backpacking. You have a limited amount of real estate that you're working with to make all of the things happen. So I want to go through a few of my things that I think you can either ditch or that you can downsize and just go with a smaller, lighter version. Now, some of this is going to be, there's going to be an element of economics in this video. Obviously, the lighter, smaller gear tends to be more expensive. And it's just going to be up to you to decide what you can do with your budget. But I did want to talk about all the things that I just in general recommend, and if budget was kind of a secondary feature, not necessarily the deciding factor. But obviously economics matter. But anyway, let's get into it. Let's start over here on this end. So I wanted to give you an example of a synthetic bag, a synthetic sleeping bag that is going to be heavier and bulkier, but obviously cheaper. Most of the time when I was a kid camping, I actually started with just like, I think a Coleman sleeping bag from Walmart. They cost probably like $70, maybe even less than that. But the problem is that to pack those things up, they would literally take up 75% of my backpack. And that is how they say suboptimal. So a synthetic bag is cheaper, but it doesn't pack down as well typically, and it's usually much heavier. So you can see a difference here between a typical synthetic sleeping bag and a down sleeping bag. You get a lot more space savings, and it's a lot lighter, and you get an equivalent amount of warmth out of it. Okay, clothing is a great way to also cut weight and cut space. Now, there's a lot of technical fabrics out there. These are hiking pants, and these are really lightweight hiking pants. They're durable, they're warm, and they are very, very light. And a lot of new people to backpacking, they just wear whatever they have. Now, that's great if it means that you're getting out there, but I don't recommend hiking in denim or backpacking in your jeans. They're very poor on their warmth to weight ratio. They don't pack down very well. They're very heavy, they're very bulky, and I think you can do better than that. So technical fabrics are also typically expensive, but the synthetics, the polyesters, I'm not sure all of the fabric materials, but there's a reason why there's a big industry for these types of things, but they are awesome. They dry fast, they're light, they're warm, they pack down tiny. So I totally recommend them. So ditch the denim, don't bring that stuff along, don't wear your sweatshirts, things like that. Go for things that are much lighter and much smaller while also being warm. Another thing I think people can ditch, unless you're winter camping, I think you can ditch the insulated water bottles. These things are just kind of overkill when it comes to your average backpacking trip. So I don't think these are necessary. I love either carrying a dromedary, just like a water bag, or a Nalgene bottle. To me, those are really lightweight solutions. And water management in general is a great way to reduce your weight. 1 liter of water weighs 2.2 pounds. And so if you are carrying extra water, then you might be carrying 2, 4, 6 extra pounds that you really don't need to be carrying. So one of the things that I do recommend is know where you're backpacking. Research ahead. There's a lot of blogs out there on most backpacking destinations that'll tell you if there's a lot of water sources, or if you're backpacking in the desert, maybe you do have to carry, that 4 liters a day because you're in the desert. But if you're not, you can probably get away with carrying a lot less water. And then for me, if I'm backpacking in a place with a lot of water, I actually love a really simple solution like the Grail for my water needs. And this is a filter and a water bottle. And one of the things that it helps me do is it's really, really easy. So I can just see a water source and I can just scoop up some water out of here and then just filter it on the trail without digging through and finding a water filter that I've got packed away in the middle of my bag and then pumping 3 or 4 liters at a time. And then it just helps me keep it up and filter water along the way, and then I don't have to carry as much, which I definitely appreciate. Water weight, again, is a big issue when it comes to food as well. So a really simple way to cut your weight is just to go with dehydrated food. Obviously, there's not water in the dehydrated food, so when you get to camp at night, you filter some water or you boil some water and you add it to your food, and it is much, much lighter than most grocery store food or food that already contains the water that you haul in. So backpacking meals are a great way. It's one of the reasons why beef jerky is possible. Dehydrated fruits are really popular, obviously, because you're not carrying that water weight. So that is another great way to cut weight while still being happily fed on the trail. Now, every time I go and wander through REI, I see lots of toys that I want to buy and then take with me on my next adventure. But it can be really easy to be like, oh, I want to take my cool extra string lights and my 50 tool Leatherman, or just my big electronics that I want to carry, recharge my phone so I can keep up on my Snapchat and my TikTok. Some of that stuff, you can leave that at home. If you're dependent upon your phone for some reason, maybe for navigation, maybe pick up a paper copy of something like that. That's not going to run out of batteries, and you're not going to be worried about your safety because you've got a map still. So I ditch the trinkets. It's easy to want to just bring a lot of toys along with you. Some of the trinkets, the other things that I see people take for comfort that I never take with me backpacking are things like camp chairs. I can say that it is wonderful to get to camp and have a chair, but I just don't think it's worth it. Now, if you have bad knees, then maybe it is worth it. But if you don't have bad knees, then I think you can ditch that camp chair and just find a nice rock or just become one with the dirt somewhere. And your tent is a great way. I think unless you're like an ultralighter, you're probably overlooking the weight of your tent. So I did want to give, this is a 2-person tent and this is a 2-person tent. These are both kind of your general backpacking tents, but obviously there's a big difference in weight and size in both of these. Now, this one is an ultralight tent and it's going to be much more expensive, but I did want to point out the differences in your weight here. So this one has your weight reading. This one is 2 pounds, 4 ounces. That is a really light tent. This one is just kind of your middle of the road backpacking tent. It's neither overly heavy, but it's definitely not a light tent. And it weighs in at 4 pounds, 13 ounces. And the difference is probably going to be about $200 of retail price. Obviously that means something to a lot of people, but you can save 2 pounds right off the bat just by getting the ultralight version. And if you can afford it, I highly recommend doing it, because not only are you saving weight, but you're just saving a bunch of bulk too. This is a much bigger tent. Another thing that people like to do is just take these med kits and just throw the whole med kit into their backpack and carry that. However, this is good for 4 people for 7 days. A lot of times I'm just backpacking either by myself or maybe with one other person. So usually that means I can pare it down. So what I like to do is I just take a Ziploc and add in a few of my favorite things. I got my athletic tape, my tape to roll up a twisted ankle. I've got moleskin. I've got some nail clippers in here. Things like that. I don't actually like to carry a full medical kit. Now I know that is, the safety aspect of that is going to be entirely up to you, but in general, there is a lot of redundant things that you can actually probably cut out, set it aside, and as you use stuff, you can refill your med kit with Band-Aids and moleskin and things like that as you go. So you don't have to take so much of that. Another thing I do recommend is also just taking a backpack itself that is on the smaller end. So whatever you think you can get away with, maybe reduce that by about 5 liters or so. So this is a 65-liter bag, which I think is for the average backpacker out there, certainly the newer backpackers out there, you could probably get away with something that's like 60 to 55 liters. So go on the smaller end. Another thing that'll make you do is it'll make you be a little bit more conscious about what you're actually bringing with you so that you can carry less with you. I think a general rule with food is to not carry more than like 2 pounds per day. So if you're going out into the backcountry for 3 days, then probably having about 6 pounds of food is probably about right. The last backpacking trip, I didn't really give too much thought to my food, and I suffered the consequences because I just was like, oh, I love these bars. I'm bringing this. I'm bringing my beef jerky. I'm bringing all these things. I just threw food in indiscriminately. And after my 3-day backpacking trip, I had enough food to fund another 3-day backpacking trip. I probably carried an extra 10 pounds of food unnecessarily, mostly just because I was not very thoughtful about what I was carrying. So you don't have to carry everything. You know, think about like how many granola bars are you really going to eat, and not just carrying like 6 per day unless that's all you're eating. So in general, overpacking on food is probably one of the main ways that you can really quickly add up some extra weight in your backpack. So try to be a little bit more conservative on that. Okay, that's my video for reducing weight. Now, I didn't go into the extremes here because there is a passionate community of backpackers out there that consider themselves ultralighters. And if that is you, there is another level that you can take this to. You can be cutting your toothbrush in half and just putting like the tiniest ounce of toothpaste in your backpack. And to me, I think that's for another video. This is just for general backpacking, how to reduce the weight in your backpack. I hope you found it helpful. I hope it can help you cut down on your weight and make yourself have a more comfortable, enjoyable backpacking experience. If you do have some tips that you think I missed, please leave it in the comments below. I want to continue learning just as much as you do. And we're in this together, so we're a community. So give this video a like, stick around here on the YouTube channel, Backpacking TV. I'm your host, Eric Hansen. I'll see you out there.